Yes. Happy morning, children. Hope you all are doing good. Okay. In the last session, we have learnt about the same chapter, the continuation of the same chapter, that is globalization and the Indian economy. So, what are the concepts we have learned, children? Can you people just recall those concepts? Yes, very good. Okay. So, you people understood about MNCs and how MNCs are starting their, the production where the cost of production will be low. In those areas, they will be starting their production activities. Yes or no, children? And then, what do you mean by foreign trade? And you people understood investment. And what do you mean by foreign investment? Yes or no? What is investment? The money which will be investing on some assets and purchasing of machineries, building, purchasing of a building, that will be considered as a investment. But coming to the foreign investment from other country, they will be investing in our country, or else India will be investing in some other country. That will be considered as a foreign investment. And then we understood about globalization. What do you mean by globalization, and what are the factors which is affecting the globalization? So in the last session we have understood about technology and information and the communication, how it is affecting or how it is enhancing this globalization. Okay, in today's class, see, in today's class we'll be seeing about liberalization of foreign trade and foreign investment policies, and then World Trade Organization. Then we'll go for recapitulation. So in detail we'll understand about what do you mean by liberalization, and then why do we need this. Okay, fine. Yes, children. So in the last class, in the last session, we have seen one example about the Chinese toys. Do you guys remember? Yes, very good. So what happens there, children? So we are importing the Chinese toys in India. So in Indian market, we can see the n number of varieties of Chinese toys. Yes or no? And as we know, the Chinese toys cost of the, I don't know, like prices of the Chinese toys is very less than compared to our Indian products, because they are utilizing the, the cost of production is the low in their country, and again the materials which they are using will also be of cheap, the quality. So coming to the Indian market, we can see the Chinese products are very cheaper. So of course what happens, children? The prices are less. The people will prefer to buy more and more this kind of products only. So what will be the effect for our Indian producers? Yes, of course. What happens to our Indian producers? Hmm? Yes. So coming to our Indian producers, you know, uh, the demand for our Indian products will be less. Yes or no? Because these toys are cheaper in price than compared to our Indian products. So the many people will try to purchase only this Chinese product because the price of the products are less. So that is the reason, if our government, okay, if our government introduces the tax, or else we call it as duties. Okay, tax and duties are same. If a government introduces the duties on the Chinese import, the toys import which we are importing, what happens, children? Of course the prices of the products will increase. Yes or no? So that is the reason. What happens once the prices of, once the tax is increased, of course the prices of the products will increase, because the cost of the products they have to add, and again they have to add for that the taxes which they are paying in our country. So of course finally the prices of the Chinese toys will also increase. So due to that, what happens, children? Yes, that will be an advantage. That means the prices of the products also increases. So due to that, the people who were purchasing this Chinese toys will reduce, because the cost of the products is more. Okay, So that is the reason, of course, when the people are not purchasing the products, of course, which we were importing from the China will also reduce. Okay, hope you guys understood, right? Yes. So which we were importing from China, the toys which we were importing will also reduce. Okay, very simple, you people understood, right? The China products were cheap. So due to that, people were purchasing more and more China products. When the government introduces the tax on this import of China products, of course, automatically the prices of China products will also increase. So due to that, what happens? Of course, the people who were purchasing this products will try to reduce. Okay, so due to that, finally, the import of this Chinese toys will reduce. So once the import of this Chinese toys reduces, what happens? Yes, the people will try to purchase more and more Indian products, Indian toys. Okay, the products are the toys which made in India, the people will try to prefer. So automatically our Indian producers will prosper. Okay, the demand for Indian products will increase. So automatically Indian producers will prosper. Okay, hope you guys understood now, children. Very good. Yes, and the next we'll see that tax on import is an example of trade barrier. So here we understood about the example. So to reduce the import activities, we are putting or we are adding some tax on that. Yes or no, children? So we are imposing the duty or taxes on the import goods or the imported goods. So this tax or the duty on the import which we are imposing, that is an example of trade barrier. So this is one of the new word you people are hearing. What do you mean by trade barriers, children? Yes, it is, trade barrier is like a restriction. See here. See, government can use trade barriers to increase or decrease to regulate the foreign trade. So here we understood that the trade barriers means it is an restrictions which we are putting on the import activities. Okay, that is a restriction which we are putting on the import activities. So what government can do? Government can use this as a regulator. It can use the trade barriers to increase or to decrease the foreign trade. So which is necessary products, they can remove the tax, the trade barrier. So finally what happens, the necessary products which we need can be import more, and which is not necessary, those kind of products we can avoid by putting more and more restrictions on the import. Okay, that will call it as a trade barriers. It is a restriction for the import activity. So here what happens, the country which is exporting has to pay the tax to our country. For example, China is sending the products, that is sending the toys. That means China is a exporting country. Yes or no, children? China is exporting the toys to India. So India is importing, that means which we are receiving the toys. So that is the reason China has to pay tax to India. Okay, that is called as a the tax. Exporting country has to pay to importing country. Okay, yes. And the next one, see, Indian government. See here, Indian government. So we understood, we studied about history, in detail, all those things. What happens to India, the British people, Portuguese, Dutch, French, every people come to India with the name of trade. Yes or no, children? Guys, remember, right? Do you remember this concept? Why British people came to India? Yes, the main motto is trade and to make the profit. So finally what they started to do? They came to India with the main motto of trade, but later slowly they started to acquire the power or conquer the power in political activities. Okay, so finally they started to rule the country. So that is what we'll call it as a colonism or imperialism. Yes or no? So to avoid that, so to avoid the international market or the competition of international market in our country, our Indian government, after we got the independence, guys understand, once we got independence, Indian government introduced this tax system, that is trade barriers or the restrictions on the import activities. Okay, see here. So finally we understood, after independence, Indian government introduces the tax or the trade barriers or restrictions on import activities, so that the barriers to foreign direct investment, along with that foreign trade. Okay, so investment means the companies which will come and invest their amount, and they'll be producing the products here. So that one, and one more, it is foreign trade also, the export import export activities also, they started to put more and more restrictions. Okay, so why they did so, why they introduced the tax system, why they introduced the barriers? Because, see, to protect the producers within the country from the foreign competition. So that time we know that once we got the independence, India was not that much strong politically and even economically. Yes or no, children? Economically also India was not strong, and even politically also India was not that much strong. So that is the reason that time only the companies were, the starting in India, the growing stage. They were just starting the industries, the factories. So that is the reason, to protect our Indian producers from the foreign competition, they introduced this tax or the trade barriers. Hope you understood, right? To protect our Indian producers from the foreign competition. Okay, and the next, see here, in 1950s and the 1960s, industries were coming up. So around the 1950s and the 1960s, our Indian producers, they were setting up the factories and the industries within the country. So to protect them, to support them from the foreign competition, they introduced this barriers. Okay, see here. India allowed imports of only essential items. So that time, which are the products which was very necessary for our country, only those products they were allowed to import. Okay, what are those items? Like machineries, because that time only we were setting up the industries. So that time it is very much necessary to import the machineries and some technology. Yes or no? So we were importing some machineries and the fertilizers, because India is basically an agricultural country, and already we knew that the British people started to introduce more about the commercial agriculture. Okay, so we started to import even the fertilizers and the petroleum products. Okay, from the Arab countries we were importing even the petroleum products also. Okay, only the necessary products which we were importing, and the other things were not imported. Okay, see here. Yes, developed countries during the early stages development have given protection to domestic producers. So we saw that the main purpose India introduced the trade barriers after independence is to protect our Indian producers. Yes or no, children? What is the main reason? Because the many developed countries we can see, like USA, German, Japan, all those countries, they gave much and much importance for the domestic producers. So only that is a reason for them to be a developed countries. Okay, so by seeing that the developed countries were giving much importance for the